Smallpox vaccine. Before vaccines were a thing, smallpox was the worst roommate humanity ever had. This virus didn't just crash at your place, it moved in, destroyed your furniture, and left you covered in scars or dead. It killed about 1 in 3 people who got it, and if you survived, well, you'll either be left blind or covered in crater-like scars. Parents feared it, kings died from it, and it basically said, "Nice civilization you've got there. Would be a shame if something happened to it." Then came Edward Jenner, 1796's version of a medical rebel. He noticed that milkmaids who got a harmless cow disease called cowpox never seemed to get smallpox. Instead of minding his business, he did something no ethical board today would allow. He scraped pus from a milkmaid's cowpox blister. Yes, ew, and injected it into an 8-year-old boy. The boy got a mild fever, then became immune to smallpox. And just like that, the first vaccine was born. No microscopes, no labs, just good old cow pus and observation. Fun fact, the word vaccine literally comes from vacca, Latin for cow, because of this cowpox origin story. The smallpox vaccine spread across the globe like wildfire, but in a good way this time. By 1980, smallpox was declared officially eradicated. Not reduced, not controlled, gone. Rabies vaccine. Let's say you're bitten by a dog, a bat, or a raccoon with rabies during the 1700s. Well, the chances of you surviving once the symptoms start were definitely at 0. I mean, rabies, once it hits your brain, has a nearly 100% fatality rate. It was honestly like getting a countdown timer strapped to your forehead, and victims died horrible deaths. Symptoms included foaming at the mouth, being afraid of water, paralysis, and going violently mad. It was like something out of a horror movie, except real. People tried everything from cauterizing wounds with fire to drinking potions made of herbs, garlic, or powdered dog hair. Yeah, seriously. And spoiler alert, none of it worked. Then came Louis Pasteur, the 1800s science legend. This guy looked at a disease that killed everyone it touched and said, "I'm gonna fight that." He created the first rabies vaccine using weakened virus strains from a rabbit's spinal cord. Gruesome work, but groundbreaking. He was basically attempting to train the immune system. So when a young boy came in, bitten and doomed, Pasteur took a risk. No one had ever tried this on a human. He gave the kid multiple doses over days, and the boy lived. Just like that, history changed. Pasteur instantly became the scientific equivalent of a Marvel superhero. Today's rabies vaccine is cleaner, safer, and incredibly effective, especially because it can work after exposure. That's the real magic trick. You can get vaccinated after being bitten, and it still stops the virus before it reaches your brain. That's unheard of for most diseases. You know what else is unheard of? Watching all these great videos and not subscribing, so would you please do that? Thanks! BCG tuberculosis. Alright, so picture the 1800s. People are coughing, hacking, and literally dying in droves. Not from war or zombies, from tuberculosis. It was called consumption because it basically ate you alive. We're talking lungs shredded, fevers raging, and a slow, dramatic Victorian death. TB didn't care who you were, rich, poor, kid, adult. If you breathed, you were fair game. And the worst part is that it was so common, people just accepted it. Like, oh, she's coughing blood? Ah, it's just consumption. Bruh. Hospitals were packed, sanatoriums popped up like Starbucks, families lost loved ones for no good reason, and scientists were sweating trying to stop it. But then, in 1921, 2 men named Albert Calmette and Camille Guérin came up with the BCG, Bacillus Calmette-Guérin vaccine, made from a weakened strain of bovine, yep, cow again, tuberculosis. They attempted to train the immune system without actually getting people sick. Genius. Moving forward, it became one of the most widely given vaccines on the planet. Before BCG, TB was a death sentence, especially for kids. The disease was airborne, spread easily in cramped homes, and could mess up lungs, bones, brains, you name it. Whole cities were haunted by it. You didn't just get TB, you withered away. Then, BCG rolled in like the immune system's personal trainer. In countries where TB is common, it's a literal lifesaver. While it doesn't always stop you from catching TB, it's amazing at preventing the deadly kinds, like TB meningitis in kids. HPV vaccine. Before the HPV vaccine came along, human papillomavirus, HPV, was the silent chaos agent of the dating world. It's the most common sexually transmitted infection, and most people didn't even know they had it. There were no symptoms, no warning, just a microscopic stowaway that could cause warts and turn into cancer down the line. But here's the good news. In 2006, a vaccine was created, so you can now get rid of HPV before it ever shows up. This vaccine was made because scientists realized something wild. A virus most people don't even realize they have was causing cancer. Not just cervical cancer, which was already killing hundreds of thousands of women every year, but also throat, anal, and penile cancers. HPV was out here starting fires and no one had the extinguisher. So, they built one. The HPV vaccine trains your immune system to block the worst cancer-causing types of the virus before they ever get a chance to mess with you. It's the most effective if you get it before you're sexually active, which is why it's offered to kids around 11 to 12. But you can still catch up in your 20s and even early 30s. Before the vaccine, people had to hope their routine pap smears caught the cancer early. But now, we're talking a future where HPV-related cancers could be wiped out entirely. Rotovirus vaccine. You ever seen a baby go from giggling cutie to a full-on biohazard in under 12 hours? That's rotavirus. It's the microscopic menace behind explosive diarrhea, vomiting, and dehydration that hits infants like a truck. One minute your toddler's munching Cheerios, the next you're Googling how much fluid can a human child lose before becoming dust. Before the rotavirus vaccine, this wasn't just a bad tummy bug, it was every parent's nightmare. We're talking 500,000 child deaths per year worldwide. Hospitals were packed, diaper stocks were under siege, and pediatricians were in hazmat mode. Rotavirus spreads through the fecal-oral route, which is science speak for someone touched poop and then touched food, toys, or literally anything else. Babies love putting stuff in their mouths. That's basically their job description. Combine that with daycare germs, and you've got the perfect diarrhea storm. Finally, scientists and doctors figure out a way to stop the spread of the virus by taking the real rotavirus, weakening it, kind of like giving it the flu, and then locking it in a cage. It's still barely alive, so the immune system learns to recognize it, fight it, and remembers it without the baby actually getting sick. The trick was about finding a balance, strong enough to trigger immunity, weak enough not to cause diarrhea. The best part about the vaccine is that it is oral. No needles, just a sweet-tasting liquid squirted in the baby's mouth. Since it rolled out in the 2000s, rotavirus hospitalizations have dropped over 90% in countries that adopted the vaccine. That's fewer ER visits, fewer IVS, and way less toddler-powered projectile horror. Yellow fever vaccine. Picture this. You're in the 19th century Rio. It's hot, it's sticky, you're vibing at a street festival, and then suddenly people start dropping. Fever, chills, vomiting black sludge, skin turning yellow like a cursed banana. That's yellow fever, and before the vaccine, it was the OG travel horror story. Back then, yellow fever wasn't just a personal nightmare, it was a walking apocalypse. Cities like New Orleans and Philadelphia were hit with wave after wave of outbreaks. Thousands died horrible, liver-melting deaths. No one knew mosquitoes were the culprits, so people blamed bad air and vibes. Of course, spoiler, it was the mosquitoes. Always is. Then, in 1937, virologist Max Thiele went full mad scientist and created a vaccine using a weakened version of the virus. Boom! Immunity without the death part. The guy even won a Nobel Prize for it, which is nerd speak for you just save millions of lives. Now, what makes this vaccine so iconic is the fact that it's a one-and-done deal. One shot equals a lifetime of protection. No boosters, no drama. It's like installing antivirus software in your bloodstream that never expires. It's so effective that many countries won't let you cross the border without proof you've had it. No yellow fever vaccine, no visa, no entry. Ebola vaccine, Ervebo. So, if you were living in West Africa in 2014, then you'd know it was a period of death, sickness, and complete anguish. People were dropping like flies from a disease that turns your insides into a bloody soup. Symptoms included extreme fever, vomiting, bleeding from places blood should not be bleeding from, eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. It was a very gruesome virus, and the culprit was a virus called Ebola. This virus was so lethal that it could kill up to 90% of the people it infects. There was no cure, no treatment, just isolation, prayer, and hazmat suits. But then a vaccine called Ervebo was introduced. Scientists used a live virus from vesicular stomatitis, which is a mouth sore disease in cattle, and modified it to carry a piece of Ebola, tricking the body into developing full-blown immunity without getting sick. Ervebo was trialed during outbreaks and crushed it, like nearly 100% effective levels of crushed it. It got emergency use, then full approval in 2019. Suddenly, frontline workers and people in hot zones had a shield. Ebola could still knock, but now the door doesn't open. Cholera vaccine. Picture this. It's the 1800s. You're walking through a bustling city. The streets are filthy. The water looks very sketchy, but still you sip from a well and just like that, you've unlocked cholera. Death Speedrun Edition. We're talking relentless diarrhea, vomiting, and dehydration so extreme your eyeballs feel like raisins. And the worst part? It hits fast. People would literally die within hours. Whole neighborhoods were wiped out all because someone's toilet was upstream from your drinking spot. Cholera is caused by a bacterium called Vibrio cholerae. It sneaks into your gut through contaminated water or food and turns your intestines into a high-powered sprinkler system. Back in the day, cities didn't even know what germs were. They blamed bad air, evil spirits, or weird-looking neighbors. Meanwhile, entire populations were playing biological roulette every time they took a sip. Thankfully, science came. Then vaccines came, and people suddenly stopped dying from dirty water. The cholera vaccine was developed to give your immune system a heads up, like, hey, if you see this microscopic jerk, blast it. The coolest thing about it is that it's oral, no needles, just a drink that trains your body like a gut-level boot camp. It's not perfect, it doesn't last forever, and you still need clean water to stay safe, but it dramatically cuts your risk of turning into a puddle. Today, it's used for travelers and people in outbreak zones, especially in places hit by natural disasters or poor sanitation. Shingles vaccine. Imagine your childhood chickenpox pulling a Michael Myers and coming back decades later for a surprise sequel no one asked for. That's shingles, and it doesn't just knock, it kicks the door down wearing spiked boots. Shingles is what happens when the varicella zoster virus, the same one that gave you chickenpox as a kid, decides to wake up from its 40-year nap in your nervous system and go full psycho. Symptoms include a burning, stabbing rash that hugs your body like a medieval torture device. It can cause nerve pain so intense, people have described it as being lit on fire and stabbed at the same time. Some unlucky people get post-herpetic neuralgia, which basically means the pain doesn't go away even after the rash does. Yeah, your immune system dropped the ball that hard. Fortunately, Shingrix is the modern-day bouncer that tells that rogue virus, "Not today, Satan!" Shingrix is a non-live recombinant vaccine, which is a fancy way of saying, we built this like a boss in a lab, that teaches your immune system how to slap shingles back into dormancy permanently. It's over 90% effective, even in older adults, which is huge, because shingles doesn't start showing up till you're 50 plus, and just trying to enjoy retirement without becoming a human hot coal. Before the introduction of this vaccine, your only options were to suffer or pray that the old vaccine, Zostavax, worked. Spoiler alert, it didn't work great. Now, with one shot of Shingrix, a booster a couple of months later, and you're basically equipped to ghost your own immune system's worst enemy. Typhoid vaccine. Back in the 1800s and early 1900s, typhoid fever was everywhere. Spread through contaminated food or water, it would sneak into your gut and then go full toxic tour. We're talking high fever, stomach pain, weakness, and diarrhea that hits like a truck. Oh, and if you were lucky enough to survive, you might still carry the bacteria and spread them without even knowing. Just ask Typhoid Mary, the most infamous healthy carrier in history. She cooked for rich families in New York, and wherever she went, bam, people dropped like flies. Public health wasn't sure whether to isolate her or give her her own cooking show titled Death in Every Dish. Basically, life before the vaccine was rough. Soldiers in war were like typhoid magnets. Cities without clean plumbing were typhoid hotspots, and if you drank water from a questionable source, congrats! You just rolled the dice on fever roulette. Then, the vaccine showed up like a health department superhero. First created in the late 1800s, it had been refined over time, and now we've got two main types, a shot and an oral pill. The shot uses dead bacteria to train your immune system. It can't make you sick because the bacteria are fully inactivated. But it's safe, standard, and pretty chill. However, the pill contains live bacteria that have been genetically weakened so it won't make you sick. This one is an oral vaccine that's spaced out over several days. Today, the vaccine is a must-have for travelers going to parts of Asia, Africa, or Latin America. It's not 100% foolproof, but it seriously reduces your odds of reenacting a 19th century medical tragedy. Anthrax vaccine. You know what's worse than stepping on a Lego barefoot? Breathing in anthrax spores. One gives you pain, the other gives you a fast pass to the afterlife. Anthrax is one of those diseases that sounds fake, like something a comic book villain would cook up. But no, it's real, and it's terrifyingly efficient. Anthrax is caused by a bacterium called Bacillus anthracis, which sounds like a Hogwarts spell, but it's really nature's version of a biological landmine. You can get it through a cut, eating infected meat, or the nightmare mode of breathing it in. The symptoms include skin boils, chest pain, vomiting blood, internal bleeding, and a 90% death rate if untreated. Yes, 90%. Before antibiotics and vaccines, anthrax was a silent killer of livestock, farmers, soldiers, and anyone unlucky enough to inhale it. This bacteria is so deadly because it doesn't just kill, it lingers for a very long time. Its spores can chill in the dirt for decades, just vibing until someone walks by. And in the wrong hands, it's a weapon-grade horror. But when the anthrax vaccine came into the scene, it flipped the pages very fast. However, it's not for your average Joe and is mostly given to military personnel, lab workers, and people who work with animals in high-risk areas. It doesn't use live bacteria, so you're not playing germ roulette, but it does take multiple doses and a booster. Think of it as a slow-build superpower against one of Earth's oldest biological weapons. Meningococcal B vaccine, MenB. Picture this. You're a totally normal college freshman. New hoodie, dorm room snacks, maybe a weird roommate who watches you sleep. Then one morning you wake up with a fever, neck pain, and your brain feels like it's trying to escape your skull. Well, chances are you have meningococcal B, a rare and deadly condition that doesn't care if you've got midterms tomorrow. MenB is caused by a type of bacteria that crashes your bloodstream and brain like it owns the place. It starts like a flu, fever, headache, maybe nausea, but then it takes a sharp left turn into brain swelling, seizures, and sudden death. You can go from totally fine to call everyone you love in less than 24 hours. Survivors might even end up with amputated limbs, hearing loss, or brain damage. This disease isn't playing around. Before the vaccine, outbreaks would pop up in college dorms, military barracks, and any place where people are crammed together and sharing way too many germs. Schools would panic, campuses would lock down, and health departments would rush to contain the outbreak with old-school chaos, antibiotics, hazmat suits, and a lot of prayers. But when the MenB vaccine came, it was like giving your immune system a wanted poster of the bacteria before it breaks into your skull. Today, MenB isn't wiped out, but thanks to the vaccine, your chances of being blindsided by it are way lower, especially if you're heading to college, joining the military, or living that cramped communal lifestyle.